everyone, welcome back to Sweet Yellow House. We are finally on part 4 of our series, and this is the last video. If you have not checked out parts 1, 2, and 3, go ahead and check those out. There's a lot of great crafts for Halloween in those. So let's get started. Project 1 is a really quick, fast, cute project. I got these 2 little ghosts from the dollar store, Dollar Tree, and I like the shape of the ghost. Of course, ghosts are in right now. Everybody got some, but I did not like the silver look of them. These also have a light inside of them, and I just thought that they would be really great to add to the Halloween collection. So I got some folk art cottage white paint, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple of coats on these ghosts. I'm going to make sure that I have full coverage. I'm not really taking into account the light right now because I really didn't think that it would show through. So I'm just kind of doing 2 quick coats, making sure that I have everything covered. After I get those coats on and I let them dry, I'm grabbing my Shabby Chic chalk base paint, and this is in the color Licorice, and I'm just going to draw back in those eyes really easy using a small brush so I can easily stay in those lines, and I just color in 2 coats of that on each ghost to making sure that I have full coverage. I wanted to put some kind of shadow on the bottom of these so that you could kind of see the ripples in the bottom. So I'm just mixing some of that white together along with the small amount of black, and I'm making just the lightest color of gray. And then I'm using a sea sponge, and I'm just going in the kind of deeper part of those little flaps there to bring that out. Using the sponge is just really easy. You can just put it in there and kind of feather it out with that sponge. Before I dipped it in paint, I did make sure that I wet that sponge really well, and then that way it was really soft and malleable. And that's how those little ghosts came out. They're super cute. Like I said, ghosts are really in right now, but I just didn't feel like I wanted to pay a bunch of money for the ones that they have in the higher end stores. These, I love the shape, and they did the job. So I think they're really cute, and you can still see the light through them. Project 2 is a mirror that I picked up from the thrift store. I've had it for quite a while, and the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to take the back off of it. Like with anything else, you see that I usually start out by taking everything apart. After I got the back screwed off and the mirror taken off, I'm going to take those screws and I'm actually going to apply those to the back. I'm just going to screw them all back in into the place where they belong, and not screwing them all the way down. I have this wire, and you can see that I'm using the screws to wrap that wire around, and it's just an easy way for me to apply that wire and have it stay there. So I'm just making a crisscross with the wires all along the across that mirror from screw to screw. I'm just going from side to side and then kind of crisscrossing those in the middle. The thing with the screws is that with this wire, it makes it really easy to kind of pull that wire taut. it's on there really sturdy, and I don't have to worry about it coming off. Once I have that into place, I grab this thinner wire, and what I'm going to do with this is actually start again wrapping that on the screws, going around. And what I'm doing here, if you haven't guessed, is that I'm making a spider web. This wire is really thin. It's really thin, and you can actually tie it into a knot. And that's kind of what I did around each spoke. I went around it and then went back under it and tied it like into a knot, and that held it into place really well. I was kind of worried that it wasn't going to, but the wire, like I said, is so thin that I was able to kind of pull that taut in places. Then once I got that where I wanted it, I just started cutting off pieces of that wire to fill in the blanks that I don't have enough wire and I feel like it needs more. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm just kind of filling that in with pieces of wire to make everything look a little bit more full. Once I have that all into place, I grab my glue gun and I'm putting a little dot of glue everywhere those wires cross. And that's going to kind of give it some character, but also hold the small wire kind of in place. Once I have that all set, I gave it to my husband. He took it outside and put a coat of the I think this is a Rust-Oleum spray paint. So I wanted to bring out that web, so I grabbed this mica powder, and it's kind of like a iridescent. It goes from like purple and blues. And once I got that applied, I wasn't digging that too much. So I went back to my old standby and I grabbed the gold gilded wax there, and these little skulls are from the first video. I had made a bunch of these and I had a lot to spare, so I went ahead and put some gilding wax on the skulls, and I'm just kind of showing you how I'm plan on placing those. And then I'm going to grab my glue gun and just glue those little skulls right into place with that. Once I have all that set, I decided that I wanted to bring out some of those features in the frame. And so I'm not putting heavy gold on all the frame. I'm just kind of picking out some really nice details in that and highlighting those, and then I'm just grabbing my finger and going over the tops just to bring out a little bit, but I still want to let that black show through. I decided that I wanted to put one of those little skulls in the center of the spider web just to kind of give it some a little bit more prominence there. And so I went ahead and glued that down with my glue gun as well. I grabbed these little spiders from Target, their Halloween section, and this little bag was like $3 and there's 5 billion in there. So I grabbed that wax again, that gilding wax, and I'm just going to coat some of these spiders to put onto the frame. This kind of like little jelly spider also came in there, so I just decided that I was going to use that as well. It's kind of like a clear gummy jelly type of spider, so I just kind of went over that a little bit with the gilding wax, and I'm just going to glue that into place. Once I have that into place, I just start gluing some of the small spiders onto the web and a little bit around the frame. I left some of those black, and I think that I just kind of decided that it would kind of bring out, a little bit more character if I left some of them black. So that's how that turned out. I really like this project. The frame is really pretty, and it's kind of like spooky elegance in my opinion. So project 3, I have seen many people do this project in many different ways. So I just thought I would try my hand at it. So I have this oval frame that I purchased from somewhere. I'm not sure. I've had it for quite a while. It's not a really expensive frame or a picture in here. It's just kind of like a cheap print type thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and clean everything up, and I lost the footage of me doing the first coat, but I did a first coat, dried that with my heat gun, and then now I'm going in with my second coat. I think I ended up doing about 3 coats of this, so just because I wanted to make sure that I had full coverage. So I put that aside to finish drawing, and now I grabbed this plastic skull, and I'm gonna cut the back off of it just so that I can get it to kind of lay flat. I grabbed this skull from the dollar store, and so it was really easy to cut. These skeleton hands, I believe I got these from Joann's Fabric, I think, and they were on sale. And I grabbed this chalk paint in oatmeal, and the reason that I'm doing this is because there was a lot of difference in the color between the hands and the skull face. So I grabbed this color is actually very close to the colors of the hands. So I painted the skull, and then I went ahead and painted lightly the hands, not a whole bunch because they were pretty close to this color already, but I just wanted to have something for the wax to stick to because they were kind of like a really slick type of material. So I dried those with my heat gun. Again, I grabbed my Shabby Chic chalk paint, and I'm going to go ahead and paint those details back in. And I'm going to do the eyes, the nose, and the mouth on this. And then on the hands, I'm going to do just kind of like in between each knuckle just to kind of bring those details out. Just a quick update on my other channel. I will be releasing my first video on that next week, and that's going to just be the start of me decorating for Halloween and fall, and using all the projects that I have here. The name of my channel is simply going to be Inside Sweet Yellow House. So stay tuned and look for that, because then you'll see how I style all of these great projects that I've been making in this series. So I go ahead and I'm drying that black paint with my heat gun, and I have this Sweet Pickens, I think it's called beeswax. It's just like a clear wax. I ordered this a couple of weeks ago, and I just kind of want to give it a try. It's a really nice soft wax, and I'm just putting a coat on here so that way when I put the dark wax on, it doesn't kind of make it so dark. So I grabbed the DIY dark wax, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply that over the clear wax on the skull face and the hands. So I just applied that, and I'm wiping it back just with a little piece of paper towel, and I'm going to do the hands here, and I'm going to also wipe that back immediately with a little piece of paper towel. So once I have that done, I'm actually going to turn that frame over, and what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of laying everything out and where I want it to be, using a Sharpie to just kind of put a mark where I want to cut that backing out of that picture, and just using a very sharp, make sure that you're careful, a very sharp knife here, like a straight edge or a box cutter knife, and I'm gonna just make some openings where I made those little marks with the pen, so that I can then start putting in the hands and also the skull face. So I went ahead and cut that open. I'm just test fitting here and making sure that it's in there pretty solid. I'm going ahead and doing the other side. I didn't want the hands kind of like doing the same thing, so I'm just kind of putting them at different angles so it looks a little bit different. So I just go back and forth from the front to the back, cutting away as much as I needed to. And I know this looks like a mess, but bear with me. It's going to get better. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this last piece out, and this is just going to be a little opening that is going to be underneath the skull, and this will all make sense in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put in those hands and go ahead and glue around. I pull it out and then put glue around and stick the hand back in there. Once I have the hand in there, I then go ahead and glue around that just to give it a little bit more stability. I just lifted that up because there's a little bit of those hands out the back, and it was kind of rocking and not giving me a steady surface. So the next thing is the skull, and I'm just putting some glue around the back where I cut, and I'm putting that right over that opening. So now, because I didn't cut it perfectly to lay flat, I'm just actually using the glue to kind of seal any opening that is around the edge of the skull. Once I have that done, I just turn that over, and I'm going ahead and securing those hands from the back with some glue. And again, I'm going to grab the black paint, and I'm going around the bottom of where I cut the picture on there so that I can hide all of those white edges and also paint the glue that I added there. my idea was that I wanted it to look like it was coming out of the mirror. And so I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, but I'm making kind of like little, I don't know what you would call them, like ridges, like when you drop a pebble in water and it makes those kind of ripples in the water. That's what I'm trying to kind of simulate here with the glue gun going around the hands and the skull face. So once I have that kind of where I want it, I grab some nail glue, and this nail glue is actually, it's kind of like sizing when you do gold leaf. It's exactly like that. So I'm just using it this way because I can kind of put it easier where I want, because it's in a nail bottle where it has a small brush and I can kind of get in between stuff there. So once that nail glue has set up, it goes clear. I grab some silver nail foil and I'm just cutting this into strips that I can handle, so that way I could just go over the nail glue with this, because it's tacky, of course, and bring that out and make it look like a mirror. This part of it took a little bit of time just to kind of go around and stuff, but I felt like it was worth it. It was okay. The foil actually stuck somewhat to the ripples of the hot glue, and here what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit more of that glue so I could add a little bit more of that foiling. So once I have that in place, I grabbed my gilding wax in the silver, and I'm going to go in between those glue spots, just kind of filling in all of that area of black. I'm not being super precise where there's little bits of black showing through there, but for the most part, it's either covered with the gold, the silver foiling, mirror foiling, or it's covered with the silver wax. So now I have to address the little hole in the back, and I want it to put lights in there so that it would light the skull part of that up. So I just got these fairy lights, and I'm just going to stick those into that hole. There's nothing that needs to be done with it. You just stick it in there, and this is a pretty long strand of fairy lights, so it's gonna put a lot of light in there. So I put it up to the edge, and then all I did was actually glue gun that pack to the back of that. And here I'm just showing you what it looks like in the dark. I just turned off all the lights, and you can see, even though I painted it, you can still see the light through there. It looks amazing. I really don't think that the photos do it justice. In real life, it looks like it's coming through there. So, and here it is, just without the lights on, and I'm just kind of showing you the details that I did. I am pretty proud of this, mainly because I started this and really didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I just kind of went step by step and kind of thought it out, but I did get inspiration from a lot of other photos from Pinterest and things like that, and other creators that I saw. So Project 4 is this really huge antique bird cage. I got this probably 3 years ago, and I just never did anything with it. It just kind of sat in my garden area, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So I gave it to my husband. He took it outside and spray painted it black, and I wanted it to look really old, so of course I then, after it was dry, grabbed my Dixie Belle patina paint in iron, and I'm going to pour that into a separate cup. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because I'm going to use that Dixie Belle patina spray at the same time. So I'm not going to do 2 coats of this. I'm just going to do one. And then as I'm adding this onto there, I'm going to grab a second brush, put that into the patina spray and then go over that wet paint. The reason that I like doing it like this and kind of tapping it and going back and forth, because it adds a lot of texture to this. And when it forms that rust on it, it really does give it a look of rust and that texture and everything that I love. So I'm just showing you this small part. It was really hard for me to film all of the painting because this cage is really big. So I just kind of showed you what I was doing and then off camera did the rest of it. Now I'm going to add some embellishments to that bird cage. So I'm just kind of painting up some things that I think I might want to add, like these rubber snakes. I'm going to paint those black, and then I'm going to add some details to those little skulls. The bigger skull is from a pack from the dollar store. The smaller skulls are some of the skulls that I actually made again in part 1 of this series. Just using the 1-to-1 quick set resin. I had an original idea for this, but it still is like 102, 105 here. And I just could not send my husband into the attic to get our Halloween stuff down. So I just went to Michael's and grabbed something else that I thought would work. And so I just decided that it would be okay using this different idea that I had. So I'm grabbing some of that DIY dark wax, and again I'm just gonna go ahead and go over those skulls and darken those up to look a little bit more rustic, antique-y type stuff. So I just put it on and again wiped it back. So grabbing some of the DIY golden rule wax, I'm just grabbing that, and just with my finger I'm gonna go over the bottoms of those snakes just to kind of cover up a little bit of that plastic looking stuff underneath, and I'm gonna go over the top with my finger just to bring out some of those details of the snake. Sorry, I was doing some yard work. That's why I'm in my overalls. But I grabbed a piece of cardboard and kind of cut that to set at the bottom because, like I said, this is really antique. It's rusted. There's holes in the bottom of it. So I just put some cardboard down there. I grabbed that bat from Michael's. It was on sale, and I just thought it added that nice little creepy look that I was going for. So I hot glued some of those details that you saw me make onto the cage. I added a bird's nest down there with some golden eggs, like those belong to the bats, and put some spiders and snakes, and then covered the whole thing with some spider webs. I think that when I go to put this out, I'm probably going to put some fairy lights all around and through it, just so that when we put it out for display, you're able to see, if it's dark. So Project 5 is this really huge pumpkin that I've got, I think, the first year we were here for Halloween, and I've kind of grown out of my like for it. So the simplest thing that I could think to do with it was to make it look like terracotta. I really love those Pottery Barn terracotta, pumpkins. So I just thought that this would be a nice addition to some of the house decor. So I got the Dixie Belle paint in terracotta. I added a bunch of baking soda to that and just mixing it around. I added quite a bit because I wanted that terracotta type texture on it. And so just using an old brush, I'm just going through and pouncing the paint on there. I wasn't using a swiping painting motion because of the pumpkin had like a really slick type finish on it, and it would just wipe off as soon as I was trying to do that. So I did about 3 coats of this, and this pumpkin as well has lights inside of it. So I didn't do any paint inside. Everything in there is still usable. I just did a couple of coats on the outside, making sure that I had full coverage on that. I went ahead and actually let this dry overnight just to make sure that it was completely dry. And then I grabbed this paint in cottage white. And again, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of paint in there. I learned my lesson from the terracotta pot that I did a couple of months ago. And so I'm just putting a little bit of white in here and watering it down quite a bit. I want it just to be a kind of like a wash. So I'm just kind of throwing it on there, and with a wet paper towel, I'm going to go back and just pounce on this and feather it out where I need to. I thought this was a great way to use, some old decorations that were kind of, had played themselves out, and we updated them in a great fresh way, and they actually look like terracotta pumpkins, and they have a light in them and all. I think I originally got this pumpkin from Home Goods, and it was like, $15-16 or so. So I'm just kind of putting that on and then taking that wet paper towel and dabbing it off where I think it's, the white is too heavy. I thought about using white wax with this, but I just really thought that it would maybe kind of take over, and then actually, I probably would have had to cover it first with clear wax and everything just to kind of get that look that I wanted. I just wanted kind of like that skim of white on there, and I think this did the trick. While I was at this, I really liked the way that this came out, so I had grabbed some other pumpkin items from around the house, and went ahead and did those as well. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you loved this series as much as I did, and I will see you soon.